Your transmission is not dying, it is starving. Not for a rebuilt valve body, not for new clutch packs, not for a $2,800 overhaul at the dealership. It is starving for $3 worth of friction modifier that has been quietly depleting inside your transmission for the past 50,000 miles. And nobody told you. A single bottle of the right additive poured into your transmission dipstick tube in under 5 minutes restores the precise friction chemistry your clutch plates need to grip, hold, and shift cleanly. It works within 50 miles of normal driving. The transmission repair industry in the United States generates $28 billion every year. Their entire business model depends on you never learning what friction modifier is, what it does, and what happens when it runs out. Today, that changes. A complete automatic transmission rebuild at a dealership costs $1,800 to $3,500. The wholesale parts cost for a typical rebuild, clutch plates, seals, gaskets, runs $200 to $400. The rest is labor billed at $80 to $150 per hour. Every automatic transmission contains hydraulic clutch packs, alternating steel and friction-lined plates pressed together by fluid pressure to engage gears. Those plates do not grip metal to metal. They grip through a precise chemical film called friction modifier suspended in your transmission fluid. Without the right concentration of that film, clutch plates either grab too hard or slip too freely. Your mechanic calls that transmission failure. The actual problem is a depleted molecular coating worth $3. Transmission fluid friction modifier begins degrading measurably after 40,000 miles of normal heat cycling. By 70,000 miles without a fluid change, concentration drops below the threshold for proper clutch engagement. Your transmission shudders, hesitates between gears, and slips under acceleration. Your mechanic drives it briefly, skips the fluid chemistry test entirely, and hands you a rebuild estimate. A fluid chemistry test costs nothing. A rebuild pays his rent. The choice is not a coincidence. It is a business model. The year was 1972. General Motors was facing a warranty crisis with its turbo-hydromatic 350 automatic transmission used across Chevrolet, Buick, Oldsmobile, and Pontiac vehicles. Vehicles between 40,000 and 60,000 miles were generating consistent shudder complaints during light throttle acceleration. Engineers at GM's Hydromatic division in Ypsilanti, Michigan, tore down affected units expecting worn mechanical components. The clutch packs showed minimal wear. The valve bodies were functioning normally. The fluid chemistry told the real story. The friction modifier additive package in the Dexron 2 transmission fluid specification was depleting faster than predicted under real-world stop-and-go urban driving. The clutch plates were not worn. They were chemically starved. GM's engineering team developed a concentrated friction modifier additive, issued it through dealer service bulletins, and documented resolution of shudder complaints in over 80% of field cases without any mechanical disassembly. The wholesale cost to dealers, $2.50 per bottle. The transmission rebuild those same vehicles would otherwise have received over $800 at 1972 pricing, equivalent to more than $5,000 today. The fix worked completely. Then the transmission rebuild division, a separately profitable revenue center inside the dealer network, ensured the friction modifier concentrate remained a dealer-only service item rather than a consumer retail product through most of the 1970s. Independent aftermarket companies eventually reverse-engineered it. Products like Lubigard automatic transmission fluid protectant reached retail shelves by the mid-1980s. They have sat in the back corner of auto parts stores ever since, understocked, underlabeled, and never recommended by any service advisor whose income depends on the rebuild estimate. Do not go anywhere. What comes next is the exact molecular chemistry behind why a $3 bottle reverses a failure your mechanic quoted at $2,800. This channel exists to hand you the chemistry, the history, and the exact protocol that the repair industry spent decades making sure you would never find in one place. Coming up, the $4 powder that permanently eliminates the mineral scale destroying your water heater's heating element, the same scale a plumber charges $400 to address, and the $2 compound that stops engine oil leaks at the molecular level without opening the engine block. Both are filmed. Subscribe right now and hit the bell. Every person who uses this channel instead of a service advisor starves the system by hundreds of dollars it never deserved. Stay in. Every automatic transmission engages gears through hydraulic clutch packs, pressing alternating steel and friction material plates together at 60 to 100 pounds per square inch of fluid pressure. The friction-lined plates are not designed for maximum grip. They are designed for precisely calibrated dynamic friction. A controlled slip-to-lock transition over a fraction of a second is what makes gear changes feel smooth instead of violent. The chemical agent calibrating that exact friction behavior is friction modifier. Friction modifier molecules are long-chain organic compounds, typically glycol esters or amide-based surfactants, that adsorb onto the clutch plate surfaces and form a uniform molecular film. When hydraulic pressure engages the clutch, this film controls the exact rate at which the plates transition from slipping to locking. As transmission fluid ages through heat cycling between 180 and 220 degrees Fahrenheit, the friction modifier molecular chains oxidize and break into shorter fragments. Those fragments no longer adsorb uniformly. Some zones of the clutch surface grab too suddenly. Other zones slip and fail to lock. The transmission control module detects irregular engagement through the output shaft speed sensor and raises hydraulic line pressure to compensate. Higher pressure accelerates real mechanical wear on the friction material. The failure that began as a $3 chemistry problem becomes a genuine mechanical problem, but only after 20,000 to 30,000 additional miles of neglect. The critical window exists between the first shudder at light throttle and the development of actual clutch wear. Inside that window, the clutch plates are intact, the valve body is functioning, and the only problem is a depleted molecular film. A $3 friction modifier concentrate fully restores that film in 50 miles. Most drivers feel the first shudder, walk into a shop, and receive a rebuild estimate before ever being told this window exists. The repair industry profits because that window stays invisible to anyone who does not know the chemistry. The active chemistry in Lubegard automatic transmission fluid protectant is a hydroxyl-modified polyol ester base with an oleamide friction surface agent. When added to existing fluid, these molecules disperse through the hydraulic system and migrate by polar molecular attraction toward the metal and friction material surfaces of the clutch packs. They adsorb perpendicular to the surface, reconstructing a dense, uniform film that depleted fluid could no longer provide. Within 20 to 50 miles of treatment, the transmission control module begins reading consistent clutch engagement timing and progressively reduces its pressure compensation. Shift quality improves. The shudder disappears. The system self-calibrates around the restored friction chemistry. This is not a masking of the symptom. It is the restoration of the exact chemical condition the transmission was engineered to operate within. Research documented through the Society of Automotive Engineers confirms that friction modifier concentration directly controls clutch engagement quality, and that restoration of depleted modifier reverses shudder without mechanical intervention in cases where friction material wear has not yet developed. The repair industry charges $2,800 for the mechanical intervention that $3 of chemistry makes unnecessary. The automatic transmission rebuild market generates $28 billion per year in the United States. A dealership rebuild costs $1,800 to $3,500. Wholesale parts, $200 to $400. The rest is labor on a job that in early stage slip cases involves zero worn components. A dealership transmission rebuild costs $2,800 and addresses mechanical wear that in most early shudder cases does not yet exist. A $3 bottle of Lubegard friction modifier concentrate costs $3, restores clutch surface chemistry in 50 miles, and prevents the mechanical wear from ever developing. A shop transmission fluid flush costs $150 to $250 and is recommended every 30,000 miles regardless of actual fluid condition. A $3 friction modifier additive added at every other fluid change maintains friction modifier concentration above the degradation threshold permanently for $18 per year. If 20% of American drivers used a $3 additive instead of tolerating shudder until rebuild, the transmission repair industry would lose over $5 billion annually. That is why the bottle sits on the bottom shelf with no label recommendation. Buy one 10-ounce bottle of Lubegard automatic transmission fluid protectant. Red bottle in the transmission additive section at Walmart, AutoZone, or O'Reilly. Lucas Transmission Fix in the yellow bottle is an acceptable alternative. Total cost $3 to $4. Wear neutral gloves throughout. With the engine fully warmed up after 10 minutes of driving, park level and set the parking brake. Pull the transmission dipstick. Typically marked with a red or orange handle near the firewall on rear-wheel drive vehicles or near the transaxle on front-wheel drive vehicles. Wipe it clean, reinsert fully, pull again, and check the fluid level against the hot range markings. If fluid is below the lower hot mark, add half a quart of the correct fluid specification first. Check fluid color. Healthy fluid is transparent red to light pink. Dark brown or black fluid has oxidized severely. At that stage, do a complete fluid exchange at a shop first, then return with the friction modifier. Burnt smell means the same thing. Using the small funnel in the Lubegard packaging, pour the entire 10-ounce bottle directly into the dipstick tube. Pour slowly, replace the dipstick firmly. Start the engine and idle 2 minutes, then with your foot on the brake, cycle the gear selector through every position. Park, reverse, neutral, drive, each numbered range, pausing 3 seconds at each. This distributes the additive through every clutch assembly. Return to park. Drive normally for 50 miles, mixing city and highway. The friction modifier molecules require real heat cycling to fully adsorb onto the clutch surfaces. Improved shift smoothness begins appearing between 10 and 20 miles. By 50 miles, the clutch surface film is fully restored and the transmission module begins recalibrating. For ongoing prevention, add 1 bottle every 60,000 miles under normal driving, or every 30,000 miles if you tow frequently or drive heavy stop-and-go traffic. Annual cost under normal conditions, $3 every 2 years. Annual rebuild risk eliminated, up to $3,500. In 1972, General Motors engineers documented in an internal service bulletin that friction modifier depletion, not mechanical wear, caused the majority of transmission shudder complaints in vehicles under 80,000 miles. The fix cost $2.50 and resolved over 80% of cases without disassembly. The Transmission Rebuild Division made sure that knowledge stayed inside dealer service bulletins for decades. For 50 years, that decision has extracted billions from drivers who felt the first shudder, walked into a shop, and paid $2,800 for a $3 chemistry problem. The 1970 Ford C4 automatic transmission was built to tolerances of 0.02 of an inch and routinely lasted 200,000 miles. The 2022 6-speed automatic in a midsize crossover is engineered to generate its first shudder complaint at 60,000 miles, precisely at the warranty edge. The precision increased, the design longevity decreased by exactly the amount needed to sustain a $28 billion rebuild market. This is not mechanical evolution. This is an engineered revenue schedule. Send this video to anyone quoted a transmission rebuild price in the last 2 years. Send it to the person whose car shudders, shifting from second to third. Every person who pours a $3 bottle instead of authorizing a $2,800 rebuild removes real money from a system built on manufactured ignorance. In the next video, we expose the plumbing industry, specifically the $400 water heater service that $3 of descaling chemistry eliminates permanently. Your water heater is likely running at 30 to 40% reduced efficiency right now because of mineral scale coating its heating element. That scale dissolves completely in 4 hours with $3 of chemistry at every hardware store in America. The plumbers have prayed you never connect those two facts. That video is next.